Hello, Buckeye Nation. I have 2 words for you this week: Penn State. That's the focus this week, and that's what things have been building to ever since that hard-fought win against Notre Dame a few weeks ago. Let's dig into it all after the intro. Welcome to Buckeye Football Fangirl. If this is your first time here, my name is Lisa, and I'm the gal behind this channel. I love the Ohio State Buckeyes, and I tend to get just a little overexcited about their games each week. If you're watching this, I'm going to assume that you might love the Buckeyes just as much as I do. So from the very bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in. We're heading into the toughest game on our schedule thus far, and chatting with all of you in the comments section and on Twitter through these first 6 victories has been so much fun. The Buckeyes got another win in their pocket this past weekend, and I realized that while we're only halfway through the regular season, Ohio State basically already owns the whole state of Indiana. They have literally walked into that state 3 times already, and then walked out with a certificate of ownership each time. Thank goodness nothing weird happened while we were in West Lafayette. I mean, unless you count that unfortunate injury to Chip and having to lean on Dallan Hayden the week after Ryan Day said that they were planning to redshirt him. I personally love what we've seen from Hayden both last year and then this past weekend, and I was excited to see him play and give the run game some forward progress. That's been a sticking point thus far this season, but I worry that what we saw on Saturday was just a mirage because 1, it was just against Purdue, who ranks 85th in rushing defense, and 2, because as soon as TreVeyon, Miyan, and Chip are healthy and clear to play, the run game will go back to revolving around them. I think that those 3 have earned their playing time, and each one does bring a different dimension to the game, but it is hard not to wonder if Hayden maybe has something that the other 3 don't have in games with hitting the holes. What are your thoughts on this run game? Go ahead, drop me a comment below with your thoughts because I want to know. By the way, that game last weekend looked like a miserable game to be at with the rain coming down, and I was happy to be watching it nice and dry. The weather also could have been the cause for some weird stuff to happen, but thankfully it seemed not to do much more than maybe cause a few more drops than what we normally see from the wide receivers and remind us that, hey, our wide receivers are actually human too. One last thing before we move on to talking about the utterly important game that we have coming up this Saturday. I'm still impressed as heck with our defense. Holding Purdue to 7 points is stinking impressive, guys. Now, of course, they did have a little help from Purdue's kicker missing those 3 field goals, but even if you tack those extra 9 points on, that'd only be 16 points, which I'd still be happy with. I am so happy that they are holding teams to kicking for field goals instead of letting them get into the end zone, especially since Purdue did bust a run that got them all the way down to the 1-yard line. Shout out to Jordan Hancock with that touchdown-saving trip-up tackle. If he doesn't make that play, it would have been touchdown Purdue. And then our defense not only holding them out of the end zone from the 1-yard line, but backing them up and seeing great plays from Simon, Burke, and JT before their poor kicker kicked another dud. This defense is special, you guys. And now that we're officially halfway through the regular season, let's take time to soak this up because this kind of defensive play is rare. All right, let's shift gears and take a look at the Penn State Nittany Lions because they're the next team up, and I'm already feeling nervous. It's a nooner, so at least we won't have to wait all dang day with our nerves raging, but this game already has my stomach churning and makes me want to assume my default nervous position. Along with Ohio State, Penn State is rolling into this game undefeated after winning games against West Virginia, Delaware, Illinois, Iowa, Northwestern, and UMass. So far, they have looked very solid, and they are a well-coached, talented team. Penn State is led by James Franklin, who is in his 10th year as head coach. Franklin is Pennsylvania born and raised, but he didn't grow up thinking that he'd be the head coach of a Pennsylvania college football team. Franklin has been both loved and hated at different times by Penn State fans, and he was called one of the most overpaid coaches in college football in 2022 by USA Today Sports due to the fact that Penn State tends to underperform in the big games. I always say that the stats don't lie, and Franklin is an abysmal 3-15 against top 10 teams. Part of that is Ohio State's fault, so sorry, not sorry. There is a lot of pressure on Franklin to win the game this weekend, though, as he is 1-8 against Ohio State, and things seem to be aligned as well as they probably ever will be in terms of talent and experience on his roster this year. Let's move into taking a look at who we will see on the field on Saturday. Overall, Penn State is currently 42nd in total offense and 79th in passing offense. You might remember that starting quarterback Drew Aller served as Sean Clifford's backup last year and had a somewhat shaky performance. He comes with a lot of built-in hype as the #1 quarterback recruit of his class, and so far his performance has gotten the job done, but it hasn't exactly been groundbreaking. Impressively though, he hasn't thrown any interceptions so far this year and has only been sacked 4 times. I'm personally hoping that we can break that no interception streak this weekend, but we'll see. Aller's not a true dual threat quarterback, but he can scramble enough to keep defenses honest. His most productive wide receiver target this year has been Keandre Lambert-Smith. He has 3 to 4 times the receiving yards compared to anyone else on the team. Theo Johnson and Tyler Warren are tight ends who see the ball a decent amount of times, and Warren is the leader in receiving touchdowns with 5 for the season. The running game would appear to be Penn State's strength on offense, as Penn State is ranked 15th in rushing offense. However, some fans have complained about their rushing attack feeling sluggish throughout the games, and not quite up to the level that people predicted it would be at 4.6 yards per carry after the leading rushers flashed last year. On the ground, Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton give Penn State a 1-2 punch, and they have almost the same amount of rushing yards. Both have also been utilized in the passing game, giving defenses even more to think about. Singleton is the leading scorer of the team with 7 touchdowns to his name so far this season, and was the talk of the team last year as he splashed onto the field as a former 5-star recruit and true freshman. Defense, however, is where Penn State truly shines. Penn State is ranked 1st in total defense. They're first, guys. Ohio State is currently 7th. The Nittany Lions have been chasing greatness for years defensively, and this year are top 5 in nearly every defensive category and have looked very impressive so far. Linebacker Curtis Jacobs is an explosive player on defense, and he leads the team in tackles this year. Dominic DeLuca, another linebacker, has been quite disruptive in the pass game, with 1 sack, 3 passes deflected, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 pick six so far. Penn State is known for their solid defensive line play, and defensive end Adisa Isaac has been a game wrecker so far, logging 5 sacks this season. Chop Robinson is another fearsome defensive end who has 3 sacks, 1 pass deflected, and 1 forced fumble so far this season. Penn State likes to throw exotic blitz packages at opposing offenses, so be on the lookout for that this weekend. And then there's the recent story of Daquan Hardy, a 5th-year senior cornerback who has logged 3 passes deflected and 2 interceptions already. But he's really been making waves due to returning not 1, but 2 kickoffs for touchdowns this past weekend in their game against UMass. That was enough to make history at Penn State, and is something we for sure need to keep our eyes on this weekend, and something that's definitely increasing my nervousness. What are your thoughts about this game that we have coming up? How do you think the Buckeyes match up against Penn State? Are you feeling nervous, or can you pass some of your calmness on to me? Please let me know by dropping a comment below, because I want to know. I look at this matchup with all these nerves scrambling my thoughts and making my stomach tighten already. As I said before, I'm feeling super nervous. The biggest questions in my mind are these. Is Ohio State's defense good enough to keep Penn State's offense at bay? Our defense has been solid up to this point, but Burke going out last game due to injury and the whole hush-hush around that definitely doesn't help my nerves. The defense has been on fire with him locking down his wide receivers, and I pray that he has a quick recovery and that the injury doesn't hamper his intensity like it did last year. And then there's the other question. Can the Buckeye offense get going and score enough points to win this game? This offense has had times where it has looked great, and then other times where it has been a slog. I've loved seeing the guts to come back from behind to win games, and I don't doubt their ability to stay focused and not give up when the game is on the line. However, Penn State's defense looks to be the best test they have faced all season, and we know they are going to play the Buckeyes with all that they've got. We are Penn State's arch nemesis after all, and we know neither team is looking past this game. Penn State hasn't won in the horseshoe since 2011, and I hope that we can make their dry spell last even longer. I do predict that this game is going to be a close one and slightly uncomfortable. And while I don't like saying that, I think it's the truth. I predict that the Buckeyes are going to have to fight hard and that the win won't come easy. I absolutely think that they can come away with the win, and I'm going to be cheering them on with everything inside me. I know my nervousness does nothing to affect the final outcome of the game, and I will try to keep it under control. But if this game ends up being anything like that earlier Notre Dame game, it's gonna be a wild night. Come what may though, I'm going to be doing my best to soak this game and the thrill that I get from being a Buckeye fan up with my heart and soul. All right, that's all I've got for this week. I'll catch you all on the other side of the game. OH.